There is an idea of a bookubus, some kind of abstraction, but there is no real me, only an entity, something illusory. And though I can hide my cold gaze, and you can shake my hand and feel flesh gripping yours, and maybe you can even sense our lifestyles are probably comparable, I simply am not there. Hello, it's Alex, the bookubus. Today I'm doing a tag video. It is the tag You're a Psycho, which was created by Mr. Morningstar, who is a new booktuber, and you should absolutely go check his channel out if you haven't already. And I was tagged by Juan over at Plagued by Visions, who again you should definitely go check out if you aren't already subscribed. I will link both of their channels so you can go check them out. And the aim of this tag is to think about some characters within literature who are maybe antagonists, villains, they are maybe sociopaths, they maybe have some disturbing traits and do some terrible things, yet we still relate to them in some way. And the character that I wanted to talk about today isn't actually Patrick Bateman, but he's like the first psycho that comes to mind, and I just could not resist doing a little homage to that scene in the film. And yes, I did specifically buy the face mask for this video. I don't think I've ever used a face mask before. I'm just not a face mask kind of gal, I guess. And it's actually left my face quite red, but we're just gonna go with it, it's fine. So the character that I wanted to talk about is Mary Catherine Blackwood, also known as Mary Cat from We Have Always Lived in the Castle by Shirley Jackson. This is a fantastic book. It's one I read for the first time a few years ago and absolutely loved. It was a 5-star read for me and is one I always recommend. And when I read this, I definitely found myself relating to Mary Cat in certain ways. And that's not to say we have everything in common, and I do want to keep this video spoiler free, so if you have not read the book, I'm not going to be going into any spoilers plot-wise, but I am going to talk about some of Mary Cat's characteristics, but I don't think that would spoil the book for you if you have not read it. One of the things about Mary Cat that I related to is that she has a habit or compulsion to perform certain acts or rituals which she thinks is going to help her in a certain way. So she might bury something in the garden for something good to happen, or she might do something else in order to prevent something bad from happening. And she puts a lot of stock in these actions, in these rituals. It's like a magic to her. And I wouldn't say my experience goes as far as that, but I can definitely relate to that kind of OCD nature of doing certain things in a certain way, and sometimes you might feel like if you don't do them that way, then something bad is going to happen, or you're just compelled to do certain things. It might be kind of hard to explain if you haven't experienced it yourself, but I know many people have and do, and I know this is something that people can experience, in different levels. It can be very extreme and, hard to live with. So I'm thankful that I have not experienced it to that degree. But yeah, I think the OCD type of thing is something that I have experienced ever since I was a kid, actually, but I didn't know what it was back then. But just certain things I would kind of do in my head, or like patterns, or I'm not going to go into too much detail, but just certain things that I would kind of feel compelled to do for certain reasons. And so I definitely related to Mary Cat in that way. I'm actually going to put the book down because I kind of feel like I'm doing a book review, but I'm not. In a similar vein, Mary Cat struggles to deal with things that are outside of her control, And yeah, I think that's something that I can relate to. It can be difficult to know that something is, yeah, not in your hands, and you know, it can cause a lot of anxiety. And I think one of the things that, yeah, these rituals come into play for Mary Cat is for her to feel like she has some control over things. And again, yeah, I don't think my relation to that is quite as strong. My actions don't go kind of quite that far, but I can relate to that feeling of yeah, not enjoying, you know, not just being able to like go with the flow, like, you know, I guess it's like a somewhat neurotic behavior of just, yeah, wanting to be able to have some control over things that are happening. Another thing about Mary Cat is that she doesn't maybe like that many people. There are really only a few people that she likes or tolerates. And again, while I don't think my feelings go quite that far, but you know, I can relate to that in a certain way. You know, there are people that you become familiar with and, you know, you feel comfortable around, and they're your people. But anyone outside of that, you know, I think again there's like an anxiety involved in, you know, it's like how much do you show to that person. You know, I feel like it makes me somewhat guarded. You know, I'm an introvert anyway, so it's kind of hard for me to just like be gregarious and chatty and stuff. But even then, it just, that feeling of being somewhat closed off to people you don't know, yeah, is probably something I can relate to. Another thing, which again goes back a little bit to the having things, you know, outside of your control, is that Mary Cat seems to like things a certain way. You know, she has her home and the people that she lives with, and she has her routines, and, you know, she doesn't like change. We fear change. I can definitely relate to that. I like a routine, you know, I like doing things my way. I like knowing what is coming. I don't really like surprises. I don't like things throwing me off my plans. You know, I'm a planner, so I like things to go a certain way. But yeah, I think she definitely likes her routine, and yeah, I can agree with that. So yeah, I guess I will stop there. I feel like some of those characteristics kind of run into each other a little bit and overlap somewhat. And like I said, I don't think my personal experiences go quite as far as Mary Cat's do, but I can still definitely relate to a lot of what she deals with and the way she handles life. And yeah, now that I've said all that, I'm kind of honestly a bit nervous to actually put this together and post it, because it feels quite weird to talk about this stuff, in all honesty. I feel like we all have our issues of some sort, and there is still a stigma around, you know, talk about mental health and different issues. And I think in recent years it is somewhat easier in a respect, but it's still not like an easy thing to talk about. But it shouldn't be the case that, you know, we should feel ashamed or anything like that for going through these things. Anyway, I think I will wrap this up because I'm pretty sure I'm rambling now. But yeah, you know, if there's anything that I've talked about here that you also experience and can relate to, then yeah, just know that you are not alone. You know, there are plenty of people that do go through these things. But hopefully that made some sort of sense, and yeah, hopefully my little chat about Mary Cat was interesting in some way. I think she's a fascinating character. She was definitely one of the characters that initially came to mind when I was thinking about this tag, and so yeah, I decided to go for it and just kind of delve a little deeper into her personality and yeah, things within it that I can relate to. So this is a tag video, but I'm not going to tag anyone specifically. I'm just going to leave it as an open tag, but I do really hope that some of you will jump on it, because I would be very curious to hear your thoughts and the characters that you would be talking about. So yeah, if you would like to do this tag, then I have tagged you, and let me know if you post a video. I would love to see it. I am gonna go wash my face because there's probably still bits of this mask all over it. And yeah, thank you ever so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed it, and hopefully I will see you again in my next video. Bye.